So, welcome to my first installment of my training vlog. So, today I did mostly a squat emphasis workout. So, I just started myself off here on the bike, 2 minutes, had about a kilometer just to get some blood pumping on the body, get the legs warmed up. Once I did my 2 minutes, I sort of got off. And I did what me and Phil called the Fix It 4. So here I'm holding a pretty isometric angle at the knee. What I'm trying to do is get as much flexion through my spine, looking mostly at rib cage and pelvis. And then as I reach up, we're extending. So this is just a nice way to get your spine moving while also keeping your feet on the floor, which is really just perfect for powerlifting because whenever you do anything squat deadlift wise, your feet are transferring force into the floor. So if we can get really good at that, then hopefully there'll be better transfer into the power lifts. So that was a forward backward movement through a sagittal plane. Here we're working through a frontal plane just to get a bit of length through the ribs and get the hips warmed up, and mostly targeting a little bit of glute med here, just getting that lateral hip stability and fired up for my squats. And then the last little one here is working through a transverse plane where I'm allowing a little bit of knee valgus, where the foot pronates and flattens, and then when I rotate to the right here, I'm creating a bit of supination in the foot just to get that spine moving through rotation. After that, next in the warm-up, we're going through a 90-90 stretch. So here I'm trying to keep that 90-degree angle in the knee. I'm working through external rotation in one side and internal in the other. So from here, I just like to open up, move a little bit quicker, just to get those hips moving and opened up nicely. After that, I actually went into a bit of a groin stretch just to open the hips up a little bit more. With this, I like to combine a little bit of breathing work. So trying to reach my upper back into the ceiling to open up the back of the ribs, sitting deep into the hips, trying to almost get a posterior tilt to work deep into that hip capsule. And then after that, I just wanted to test out the squats, see how nice the squats felt. And one of my favorite drills after that is it's bringing that rotation from that 90-90 stretch, again bringing it to your feet on the floor. So again, hopefully you get a slightly better transfer into those squats and deadlifts. So a nice way to really open up the hips, warm up the lateral hip muscles through a rotation pattern, and also get a bit of length through the groin when we're opening up, which can often be a limiting factor for myself in getting depth in the squat. This is called a hip airplane, probably one of the most underrated hip stretches and sort of strengtheners as well. So I highly recommend doing this if you ever do any sort of squat and deadlift. It's definitely up there in my top exercises. So now I want to groove a really good squat pattern. One of the best ways to do that is to do a front loaded squat. So here I'm just spending a little bit of time on creating intra-abdominal pressure to really stiffen my spine up and create pressure in my abdominal cavity. And it's really just trying to sit upright and open those hips up. I'm just taking my time here, going through a nice good squat pattern. And then straight after that, my first actual exercise is a reverse Nordic curl. So for this, big emphasis on keeping the front of my rib cage down and maintaining a posterior tilt of my pelvis. If you imagine your pelvis is like a bucket, we're trying to empty water out the back of the bucket to maintain a posterior pelvic tilt. And essentially what that'll do is it will allow a greater amount of length through the quad muscles and the hip flexors, which again can also limit depth in your squat. So a nice way to really get a lot of length through your quads and give them a gentle sort of loaded stretch out. So here I'm just doing a 5 kilo dumbbell. I'm just trying to get as maximum amount of range of motion as I can while maintaining the same position and relationship of the pelvis and the rib cage. And this is a reverse Nordic. I actually did a video explaining some of these concepts fairly recently, if you want to check that out on my Instagram as well. So that was the last set of Nordics. Now I'm going to show you pretty much most of my warm-up sets as I work up to my heavier weights here. So whenever I use a lighter weight in my warm-up, I'm always thinking as if there's a lot of weight in that bar, trying to keep that technique as tight as possible. You may also notice I have no squat shoes or knee sleeves on here for the first couple of warm-up sets. I try to do that every time I'm warming up just to make my body more familiar with the pattern it's trying to achieve, and so I don't really try to compensate any movements with any equipment I'm using. And then we get the squat shoes on. It helps you sit a little bit more upright in the squat. So I'm only showing a couple of reps of each of these warm-up sets just for time's sake. And then this is the last warm-up set for my squats. So today we're really working on pyramid sets where I did a set of 5 here. So I think I'm hitting about 152.5 kilo. And you may or may not have noticed so far that my walkout is very, very consistent every time. I'm hoping that grooving that exact same walkout every time is going to make me really efficient when it comes to the heavier weights. So set of 5 first of all. This is also very similar to a sort of Wendler 531 program that Chris has given me, so it's kind of nice to mix things up from doing straight sets all the time. Here we're doing one sort of lighter set of 5, and then next we're going into a moderately heavy set of 3. So I think we're working around 77.5%, so it's around 160, 162.5 kilo here. So side view, in my opinion, is one of the best views to take if you're trying to really refine your technique, because this way we can actually see the up and down bar path here. When it comes to a bar path, ideally we want to keep that bar going perfectly vertical, because that way we're not creating any energy leaks and we're efficient in our lifting. And if we lean too far forward, then your back muscles have to work a little bit harder to make up for that forward shift in weight. And this is the last top set for a single. I think it's about 170 kilo here. And you can see there my bar path is near enough exactly straight up and down, which is exactly where I want it. So for the next working sets here, I'm actually sticking with low bar back squats again, but we're doing a 2 count pause in the bottom. So I just did 1 rep of 140 just to get used to the pause there after those other working sets. And then here we have 150 kilo. So we're doing 3 threes with this. Nice and slow down, really kind of trying to control it, getting solid in the bottom position. And really with this, you're just trying to keep technique as tight as possible. Trying not to let the hips shoot up before the shoulders, trying to make sure everything rises at the same rate. That way we're grooving a good squat pattern, good timing, making sure everything's doing its job. And hopefully then that'll carry over into heavier weights. Whenever we get a bit of a spring out of the bottom, it'll hopefully allow me to push a little bit harder in that same pattern we're grooving here. So after that first set, I went up to about 155. We're working off an RPE scale with these, so it's going off about 2 reps left in the tank. Maybe push this up to an 8.5, but and then this is the last set of squats. So usually I would actually have quite a large amount of volume, but it was starting to sort of get me down a wee bit. I was feeling a bit of more chronic fatigue setting in and a bit of aches and pains where it shouldn't have been. So it's nice this block was sort of backed off the volume a little bit with a lot more core lifts. Again, pyramid sets as well. So it's a nice bit of variety kicking in there. And then after our pause squats, we're going into some good mornings. So just a little bit sped up here. Just a few warm-up sets. First of all, just to groove the technique. I don't really use a belt with these until I get up to those heavier sets. So once I'm 80% plus, I'll stick a wee belt on. Thereabouts, sometimes 60%, just to learn how to actually create that intra-abdominal pressure a little bit better. This is my first working set. We're doing 3 sets of 10, I believe. I think here is about 102 kilo in the bar. That safety squat bar is like 32 kilo in this case. Actually really comfortable to use from Black Box. So with this, real emphasis on not letting the knees transfer forward and weight shift forward. By shooting the hips back and the knees coming back slightly, we're getting more load onto the hamstrings. I'm trying to just keep that lower back completely rigid, so all the movement is happening from the hip joint. Really do get a good bit of lower glute hamstring kicking in here. And then I'm not sure if I'm going to show, we have one more set from a different angle here just to show you what it looks like from the side. I think this one's sped up a little bit as well. So a really big brace, trying to maintain that sort of same arch in the lower back the whole time, shooting the hips back, knees come back slightly, so that way we got a lot of length through the hamstrings. So to be honest, for me, I find these a lot more comfortable to do with the safety squat bar. A straight barbell, I just can't push the weight on it, and it gets a bit uncomfortable at that stage. There's Tony chucking on a wee dab. So to finish off that session, we're doing a bit of ab wheel rollout. So for these, I have a big emphasis on maintaining the position of my rib cage in comparison to my pelvis. That basically teaches me how to create that intra-abdominal pressure, maintain stiffness through my spine while we extend through the hip and flex through the shoulder joint. You may notice here at the end I actually extend my head. That just makes it a little bit harder to control the rib cage. And these are really tough if you do them right. And if you're banging these out and they're too easy, then you're probably not keeping things tight enough when you do these. So that's pretty much my training for the day. Next week I'll be doing probably a bench emphasis day, and I'll probably do a wee voiceover just commenting on a few things in that. So I hope you enjoyed my first YouTube workout vlog. Hopefully I'll get one of these up once a week for the foreseeable future, alongside some other random content videos as well. So thanks for watching, stay tuned, and I shall see you soon.